A new $20,000 per month income stream will completely change your life. It'll give you time, location, and financial freedom and allow you to live the life you've always wanted to live. Just like I hit my first $20,000 per month in 6 months using the same blueprint I'm about to share with you in this video. This is the blueprint on how to earn $20,000 per month on Airbnb as a beginner. You don't need to own property. You don't have to have any experience in hospitality or real estate or anything related to Airbnb, and you can do this anywhere in the world. This is the one business model that most people are thinking about or talking about incorrectly. The same business model that has earned my company over $6 million on Airbnb. So here's the 4-step framework that I created over the last 4 years that has enabled me to acquire properties, find markets, scale my company, and ultimately step away from the day-to-day operations, which my wife and I haven't been in since the summer of 2021. For 2.5 years, this business has been completely passive. We've hosted over 10,000 reservations. We're currently super hosts and at the top of the platforms in which we book. Okay, so let's get into step one, market research. How do I find the best cash flowing markets for rental arbitrage? So let's start with the property type. One of the most misunderstood parts about this is that people are talking about rental arbitraging, that is subleasing single family homes. What a gigantic mistake. Single family homes are the worst. Don't do single family homes with rental arbitrage. If anybody's talking about single family homes, beware. This model is meant to be done with multifamily apartment buildings. Single family homes are great if you own them and if you want to put them on Airbnb, but they're seasonal. You can't scale them. It's expensive, and you're actually only have one type of traveler, vacations, families on vacation. So if you're entering in a market at an uncertain time like we are now, then you need a market that has business, work, and leisure travel. So for that reasons, the apartment model is great. I have a handful of relationships that has enabled me to scale over 60 properties. That's right. I have 60 apartments and only a handful of relationships with buildings. So I have multiple units each building. Some of the buildings are actually owned by the same person, so I can scale laterally and scale vertically. So that's how I was able to, in 6 months, I picked up 9 apartments and I was able to earn over $20,000. Fast forward another 6 months, I had 18 apartments. Fast forward another year, I had 45 apartments. And a year beyond that, I had 62 rental arbitrage properties. And like I said, I've earned over $6 million gross revenue on sites like Airbnb and Vrbo and Booking.com. And I had zero experience. I'm doing this remotely. And it's now it's a passive business. So step one is do the apartment model. I could go on and on about why the apartment is a better model than a single family home for rental arbitrage. In fact, I might just do an entire episode about that. It is so important, especially entering certain market conditions that we're in right now. So look for 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom apartment buildings outside of major cities in Class B properties. Class B properties cash flow better than Class A properties. I particularly like those. Unlike Class C, I don't like, and Class A definitely don't like. So Class B apartments in submarkets of major cities. So here's my formula. If apartment is renting for $2,000, you need to make at least $4,000 on Airbnb. So you're looking to 2x rent. So all you do is go right now to rentometer.com and put in there the zip code that you're thinking about and find out what the median rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is. If it's $2,000, next go to AirDNA and then put up that same zip code and find out what a 2-bedroom Airbnb is going for, 2-bedroom condo or apartment is going for, and what it has made month in and month out. Go back about 2 years. You can go back about 24 months. You don't want to go back too far into COVID because of the travel patterns that were all whacked out. So 24 months is what you're looking for. Now, if that number is double your 2,000, if you're making at least $4,000, now you have a place to start. The next step, if that checks out, make sure it's legal. Look if there's an ordinance. Make sure that there's an ordinance in place. You can Google search vacation rental permit, name your city. And typically the landing pages of cities are very prominently located. If it's legal, they're making a ton of money from the tax on this. So make sure that it's legal and look at the conditions of the law. So for instance, in many cities that where it is legal, they have certain conditions. Make sure those meet your standards. Turnaround time, the cost of the permit, and how many units you can get are typically the three top conditions of an ordinance. So it's legal, it cash flows. Now you're gonna find apartment buildings. Well, how do I contact landlords? Use hotpads. So I like to get maximum amount of output with minimal effort quickly. And hotpads allows you to contact a lot of apartment buildings in the map view of it with by looking at the apartments in one window. It's the same data as Zillow, but Zillow is one extra step in the process. So I like hotpads. I've been using the same process for over 4 years. So contact every single one of those 2-bedroom apartments in that field that you're looking in, and that conversation will move to your inbox. So your next step is they're going to email you whatever email that you have on file on your Hotpads account. Now, big tip, don't use Gmail. Don't use Yahoo. Don't do that in business anyway. But with our model, you want to use a domain, an email with a domain name attached to it. So you can go right to GoDaddy and build a free website. It takes you about 15, 20 minutes maximum. They have templates specifically for our business model, and you can do that for free. Now you're going to have to pay for an email and perhaps hosting, but that's life. That's business. That's what you're going to have to pay for. So put the email on file in your Hotpads account. And when they email you, because that's what they're going to do, then you're going to reply with basically 3 different types of email scripted responses. One, you're going to ask them to see if they're opposed to our business model. And then if they say, no, we're not opposed to it, then step 2, say, great, I'd love to take a tour. I'd love to take a view. I'm interested. If you're not opposed to, and then you say next step, which is going to sort of expand on our business model, just to make sure that they're on board with our business model so you don't waste their time. If they ultimately tell you yes, if you get on the phone with them and they say, yep, no problem, you're willing to take these units, definitely go big. Tell them that you want to take 5 or 10 units from them if they have the availability. Start with 1. So important. Don't take more than 1. Start with 1. So can't tell you how important it is to make sure that you're acquiring your first one with a tentative agreement to get more after that. But you want to get your first one because you want to get your cash back, your furniture and your deposit, typically, if you're negotiating this correctly. And then once you're paid back, then you could take another one. And then if you get that back, then yeah, maybe you take 2, possibly 3. That was how I was able to scale my first year. 18 apartments my first year, averaged 1.5 apartments a year. Second year, I supercharged it a bunch. We got 27 apartments year 2. And then third year, we got another 16. We have 62 rental arbitrage properties total in that amount of time. And it was all because of rent concessions, getting the first month's rent free at least, sometimes more, and a low deposit. Pay yourself back so you're not risking new capital. The risk capital is your first unit. And like I said, it's typically furniture. So acquisitions using Hotpads, using a very scripted response that you can hone over time, ultimately getting on the phone, negotiating with them, signing your lease under your company, and then taking 1 or 2 or possibly 3 units at a time later. Now, here's the most important part. If you do everything you say you're going to do, screen your tenants, become a good host, pay your rent on time, take new units from them that they may have available, and you could take them sight unseen. We do that. We take them sight unseen and become a very big value to the buildings if they need us. If you do all that, they will give you more units. And here's the great part. Let's just say that you're in a small building and you want to cap yourself at 5 units. Well, look to see where the owner owns other properties in other towns or even in your town. Do a quick market research, doing the market analysis that I explained to you, and then go to the manager of the building and say, hey, by the way, do you have an apartment in city number X or whatever? And can you make an introduction to your leasing manager there? Our owner basically said, no problem. I don't have to make an introduction. We'll lease them to you. And so that's how I was able to. February 2020, I picked up 1 unit. March, my second, because I was paid back. April of 2020, I picked 2 more in 1 month. Now I had 4. The owner came to me and says, hey, I got these 3 studios by the beach. So I took 1 in June, 1 in July, 1 in early August. Then he offered me 2 more in another city, which I took at the same time at the end of August. That gave me my first 9 units in 6 months with 1 owner, with 1 yes, basically. And so that's the power of the multifamily world. Can't say it enough that how the single family home model is completely wrong for this. So that's step 1. Step 2 is acquisitions. Now you got your first property. Now the business of being a host is at hand. How do I list my property, furnish it, and stay booked? So let's get into the furnishings. So it's $8 per square foot ballpark and what you're going to have to pay. how you're gonna design it. Basically, go on Airbnb, look at a county away from where you are, and look at what are the top designs for 2 bedrooms. And Airbnb escalates to the top of the page the very best performing units based on an interest algorithm. That's what drives these short-term rental platforms. So the number of clicks and bookings that another host gets. So if you're looking for a similar property, see what they're doing. Now, a county away, find out who their photographer is, contact them and say, hey, I'd love to hire your photographer. I'm a county away. I won't be stepping on your toes. And then that photographer is typically close enough for you to hire. So get an Airbnb deluxe style photographer. A little bit pricey, but the best ROI that you'll ever get. So get your photographer, get him in there. Design on a 60-30-10 principle, which is 60% of the space is going to be natural color furniture and things like that. 30% is going to be the contrary color. Think of bronze and blue. And then your 10% are going to be colors that are going to pop in that. They're going to make your photo stand out. So 60-30-10, you go to Pinterest and get design ideas and inspiration. You can do the same thing on Airbnb. But here's a further tip. If you're in your own market, right before you furnish your properties, look on Airbnb in your direct market. Look who your competition is. And you'll be surprised to know that most of the Airbnbs in your market have the same color palette and same theme. So do something contrary to their color so your unit stands out, but equally as nice using the formula that I explained to you there. So you want to stay booked. Here are the 5 things you can do to beat your competition and make a ton of money. Go multi-platform. Everyone else is only on Airbnb and Vrbo. 70% of American hosts are only on up to 2 platforms. So get on Airbnb, get on Vrbo, Booking.com, Google Travel. Google Travel is one of my favorites. Furnish Finder, Expedia. And how do you connect all of them? Well, get on Hospitable or another channel manager that connects them. Step 3 is hire a front desk, a virtual assistant, $4, $4.50 an hour. Get a VA. They'll be able to not only list your properties, but then connect them together and then potentially respond to inquiries and guests and all that stuff through the channel manager. And then what you want to do is make sure you're using professional photos. Like I said, professional photos are really the way to supercharge your listings. The ROI is immediate and your properties will stand out from your competition. And a lot of the professional photographers will actually stage your properties for free, actually part of their service. So that's the way to list your property, design it, and to stay booked. So step 4 is one of the most important steps if you don't want to work in the operations of your business anymore, if you want to make this passive. And so let me emphasize that this is the most passive business model. It can be, and most people are practicing this as a very active business model, meaning they're in the business. You know, this is a 24/7 business. People are making inquiries in the middle of the night. There's issues with your guests sometimes in the middle of the night. And that's typically you or the operator running to the property and handling everything. And I figured out pretty quickly that we needed to automate the business in order to make this passive. I couldn't get out of the operations of this business fast enough. So here's the 4-step framework inside of the 4-step automations of your operations that I'd like to kind of emphasize. So step 1 in this is create a front desk. That means your VAs, your virtual assistants, we hire using onlinejobs.ph, a job board. We hire people in the Philippines. We onboard them using a 3-step process. We first have them shadow, then we have them use our FAQ chat search bar in Hospitable. Hospitable is a channel manager. They have this little cool feature where it allows you to load canned messages in it. And we've loaded 900 over time. And so now our VA is able to handle almost any question possible out there. And then the last step of the 3-step process is our VAs can't ask questions to us. So if they, for instance, they don't know the answer to a question, they have to figure it out. And what that means is they form everything in a proposal. So I'll give you an example. What if we have a 2-bedroom apartment and capacity is 4 people, but 6 people just booked our property? Well, the VA will then will propose whether or not we're going to keep that listing, that booking or not. So they may look at the reviews and look at the guest and look at the totality of the reservation. Say, hey, sir, 4 people or 6 people just booked our 2-bedroom, and over here has a capacity of 4. But I looked at their reviews; they have great reviews, and believe it or not, those other 2 people are kids. They're young teenagers, and they're coming to SeaWorld. I propose that we keep it. And so really what we're doing is we're changing their mindset from waiting for answers. That will greatly reduce the learning curve and your onboarding time from months down to a week. So those are the 3-step screening process for bringing my VAs on. Step 2 in this whole process is hire your housekeeping team. 90% of this business is communications, communicating with housekeepers, fielding inquiries, and responding to guest messages and things. The VAs can do this. The front desk can do. Then the rest of the time, the 10% of the time that someone needs to be on site, that's your housekeepers. They do inventory. They take photos. They're doing supplies, and of course they're cleaning. So we pay by the hour, not by the job. Don't hire a cleaning service. So that's step 2. Step 3 is the software and hardware tools. The software I spoke about, Hospitable as channel manager, and Price Labs as your dynamic pricing tool. We also use communication tools. You can use Slack or WhatsApp as a group communication tool. We use a phone ring system, Ring Central, if you want to communicate with guests off platform. It's smart to have give a guest a phone number, and so the whole team can communicate that way. That's an important one. And then your hardware, things like security devices like the minute decibel meter and Blink and Ring doorbell is a great hardware to have on there. And then you're going to implement your systems and protocols leading with your VA. So your VA is going to be the person on charge, the manager on duty, if you want to equate this to the hospitality world, and they're the ones that tie it all together. So those are the 4 steps, my framework that's enabled me to start and automate and scale my Airbnb arbitrage business, getting my first 9 units in the first 6 months, earning over $20,000 in that period of time. So I hope that helps. I'm having a free mini course coming up this week. Click the link below and I'll share with you more details about those 4 steps. Take care.